this digital age, what is your answer to anything? Here's a clue. It starts with a G and it ends up with you getting the answer you've been looking for. Google is even used as a verb nowadays, so we know it has to be taken seriously. This company has reshaped the way we use and consider information. By now you've noticed how Google's been targeting their consumers by personalizing their pages thanks to algorithms. Try searching anything on Google with one of your friends. Tell me if you have the same result. As Frank Pasquale asked himself, is a story selected for its statistical prominence, or is it a personalization of algorithms? Continuing in Frank Pasquale's thoughts, let's think about Google's algorithms and how they are used as an excuse for poor ranking methods. Sometimes they justify that it is because of spam or manipulation of website trying to play with Google's optimization engine system. But it's funny how certain nascent competitors are never able to compete with Google. I'm a bit shocked of what I learned after watching Ali Paris's TED Talk on what Facebook and Google are hiding from us. He explained that a standard Google does not exist. Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google, explains that it will be very difficult for some people to watch or consume something that has not in some sense been tailored for them. At some point you just become closed off from anything that is not somehow in relation to you. You are at the center of this filter bubble, but somehow you can't control what goes in or goes out from it.
The internet is therefore curated for us, but it does not include the things we actually need to see, but the things chosen by our filter bubbles. We need to regain control of what gets through to us, or we will be stuck with our digital selves. Did Google ever think that at some point it would be the host of about 1 billion queries a day? To say the least, it is an undisputable king of the internet.
However, its monopoly suggests issues for other companies trying to compete with it. There is now Google Shopping, Google Books, which compete with Amazon and eBay. It's easy for Google to be a winner, as all it has to do is highlight their own services. The EU Commission decided to act upon these violations after they had received several complaints.
They believe the company must give equal treatment to rival comparison shopping services. The fine elevates to $2.7 billion. It will be required to change its search algorithms so that everyone is treated fairly.
It has denied European consumers the benefits of competition, genuine choice and innovation.
It will finally give companies the chance to compete. I hope this video has been useful for you and you've learned something new about Google. The year was 2009 and the H1N1 crisis just broke out in the United States. One thing I'm sure not all of you know is what Google did to help locate its spread. The Center for Disease Control's number were too often outdated because patients usually come a few days after they catch the flu. Therefore, the information comes in late for the CDC to analyze it. This is when Google came in and saved the day. Google was able to look for the 50 million most common search terms people in the US were entering on their platform. Combining with the list with the CDC data, they were able to find a combination of 45 search terms which used together were able to help locate the spread in real time. This shows how Google's enormous data helped more than the Center for Disease Control. This example was actually taken from Kenneth Cookie's book, Big Data. I hope by now all of you appreciate that we're talking about big data, and I hope all of you know what it actually means. I have 2 words to sum it up: information revolution. In Black Mirror's 3rd season, the first episode is the society critique. In a highly technological world, personal data is used as a weapon. Our information is stored forever and individuals use it as a social currency to define one another. Based on a 1 to 5 rating system, everyone must keep up with their appearances or their rating might lower, and they won't be able to participate in certain activities. In this episode, we witness Lacey Pan's distress as she seeks to reach a level of 4.5 by giving a speech at her old best friend's wedding. She loses control of her cool, and her average keeps staggering until she can't bring it up again. Seeing this, her girlfriend tells her not to come to her wedding, but she goes anyway. Finally, she is taken away when her rating drops to 0 and locked away. In prison, she gets into an argument with a fellow inmate, and they are able to insult each other freely without the fear of any rating consequences. This episode warns us of how the storage of mass data on certain platforms can play a negative role on our society.
Haven't you noticed how people use social media platforms to create a new identity for themselves?
Let's take a second to remember what Edward Snowden has revealed to the public. After watching 2 documentaries and the film which has just been released this year, I could not omit it. He was working in the NSA and found out they had been surveilling tens of millions of Americans' phone and internet communication. The report included 35 world leaders who had their phone monitors, including Chancellor Angela Merkel. This is how a government has used the mass of data to be able to spy on its own population. Here lies an imbalance between national security and information privacy. To which extent should our countries go to protect ourselves? What is the limit to national security?
Now that we can amass such an amount of data, why don't we use it for the greater good, like in the first part of this video? Taking on deception on the internet. What does it really mean? Going through Truth, Lies and Trust on the internet by Monica Wheaty and Adam Johnson helped me get a broader view of what dishonesty is going on the internet.
Digital deception is described by Hancock as the intentional control of information in a technologically mediated message to create a false belief in the receiver of the message. He later describes 2 types of deception, identity-based or message-based.
Nowadays, it's made really easy for us to lie on the internet. You can be whoever you want to be. Identity-based fraud can be through email, spam, or phishing. Then on to message-based deception, when the lie occurs in the message being sent. Your friend sends you a beach picture and asks you if she put on weight, but you've still got a week on that holiday trip, so you don't want to crush her confidence. What do? This is a less aggressive kind of deception, but it still is one. Going on to more intense deception, has it ever happened to you that a Nigerian man was asking for some help? These con artists are very good at making you believe that you're the only one who has the key to solve their problems. Many have been deceived like this. In this book I mentioned previously, there's an example of this US psychotherapist, John Worley, and he fell for a scam. At first, he was really pleased to be able to help someone and gain money from this experience. People not familiar with these rip-offs think they are on the verge of becoming very rich, which makes it very exciting for them. But after giving so much money to the scammers, they just end up disappearing, and that's what happened to John. This is just one name in a million. Just in October 2017, there have been reports of 105 scams, and the amount of money lost in that month sums to $66,000.
Here we have a full report of the Nigerian scams in 2017. You can see that for 1,103 number of reports, the amount of money lost is of more than $1.5 million. This is huge. Mostly men have been victims of these scams, as we can see here. And they happen to work well around 3 months of the year, January, May, and August. Internet and email are the places where the most amount of money are lost.
I wanted to end on a positive note, so this is the story I found. This is a story of how a woman who thought was having an online relationship with a 50-year-old Danish man turned out in a nutshell to be a 24-year-old Nigerian scammer. He conned her into giving thousands of dollars until she understood it was a scam. He confessed to her and they started talking as she was asking herself what she could do to help these people. She flew to Nigeria and met him and his other scamming friends. Now, over the past 6 years, this woman has arranged for a number of African artists to visit Europe for art exhibition workshops and conferences. She explains, "Johnny has given me more than he took. Without him, I would not have met Africa."